You were created to create.
And now that you're here, the only way to unlock and unfold that is you find ways to continue to create.
When you stop learning, you stop growing. Your biggest purpose is how are you going to crack the code on you?
Step 6 in the A16 Basics, the G in Allergic is gratitude. Gratitude. Okay, so this is, the reason why I love this one so much, this chapter has really done more for me than I think most people realize it can. And it's not because it's complicated. It's quite the opposite of being complicated. Okay, it's not a complicated thing. It's actually so simple. It is so simple. We complicate it. We have to, because well, how could it be that simple, right? So I want to unfold that a little bit. And so, what makes it hard is not the concept, it's the pride. Because, saying I'm grateful for what I have sounds, it sounds simple. That, oh, I'm grateful for what I have. Until, you're in a hard season or just like shit's not going right. And then someone tells you, be grateful. Everything that you want, it just starts to like push back. It doesn't feel like there's something to be grateful about, right? So this is not a step about pretending, all right? This step, G in step 6, gratitude, this is all about perspective, okay? And perspective is one of the most, powerful things. Having a perspective, a new way, Romans 12:2 talks about, having a new way of thinking. So much of what today is meant to be for you and why it's so powerful is it's helping you to shift and move into and upgrade and level up in your perspective, in your way of seeing, okay? And so as we do that, it starts to change, and it doesn't require changing a single circumstance in your life. This is just the power of gratitude, right? So again, step 6, the G in Allergic is gratitude. And so your boy Matt Lee, I had to bring, as the host, I had to bring something to give you and show you. And I brought a few coins I collect. I'm not a big coin collector at all. I've just inherited some. I've gotten some from people, whatever. But my question to you is, how many sides are there to a coin? Okay. I want to ask you that. How many sides are there to a coin? Because that's really going to make it simple for us. And so maybe if you can put that, even if it's a replay and you're watching this live, how many sides? How many sides? I've gotten 4 before. People have told me 3, but I think most of us would know. Some say 2, some say 1. I don't know. I'm curious. But whatever your answer is, okay, as some of the comments may give away your answer. There's 2 sides to every coin, all right? 2 sides. And some people try to argue like literally the edge, and I'm like, that's an edge. That's not a side. Okay, so 2 sides to every coin. And why is that important? Why does that matter? Why is it, again, simple to do, simple not to do? But I bring this perspective because I want you to see. I'm almost wanting to validate your struggles and your challenges, but also I want to make it simple on how we can get out of that. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, so let me start by saying this. Okay, you'll either, in any given scenario, it's either going to, given your perspective, where we're talking about perspective, and then so much of what gratitude helps you do. So I don't know. Okay, the best way would you can really, I guess, perceive this is there's one of 2 ways always that you get to choose on how you're going to perceive or actually move forth in any given scenario, any day of your life, any moment of your life. There's one of 2. Okay. So a lot of this, I want you to hear a side note. It's going to either, validate you or it's going to challenge you. And that's meant to. Okay. Well, as we unfold more into what gratitude is. So much of this is, every situation, there's one of 2 sides, right? Your life has really just two sides to it. Let's just get back to, you know, some basics. Again, let's just simplify some stuff. And so just like this coin, right? The side that is lacking, or maybe what feels like, or we don't pay attention to, right? Because there's two sides. You know, a lot of times it's difficult, or it's not yet like what we want it to be, or it's the side that is, you know, good. Sometimes that's the other side. That's real. That's already there and present. But both sides exist simultaneously at the same time. Both sides are still real and true. If I'm focused on the head side of this coin, or the tails side of this coin, they still both at the same time exist, right? So the question, with that being said, the question has never been like which side is there. The question is always, which side are you looking at? Okay. So with that, and what has really been a term, I think I coined this, I don't know, we'll have to see, but where your focus goes, that's what grows. Okay, where your focus goes, that's what grows. That's what expands. That's what you see more of, right? So in like biology, like actual research and studying of biology, here's why this is hard, right? This is what makes why everybody struggles with being grateful or being better at being grateful. Your brain evolves. And as it evolves, part of that is it's wired for, you know, neuroplasticity, like this neuroplastic term that I first learned about, I mean, almost probably a decade ago, is Lincoln shows us how the brain changes. And so a lot of this, even with the upgrades and changes within your mind, neuroscientists call it the negative bias. So your brain is like Velcro with bad experiences. Okay, so it's really easy to stick. It's really easy to remember. It's really easy to not forget, right? And so like for like bad experiences, like you see it, and then all of a sudden it's like you're constantly remembering and picking that up, and that won't leave your mind or keeps you up at night. And then the good experiences are like Teflon, right? They just don't stick. You just don't really remember. It's like, you know, I remember at a season of my life when I was first getting into speaking, and I really wanted feedback from administrators, from people in the school, whoever I was speaking at. And I would get letters, or I would get an email about how I spoke or what I covered. And literally out of 10, one of those would be more blunt, kind of negative. And guess what side I would remember, right? The negativity bias. Like we like Velcro, it's harder for us to forget the bad things, the ugly things, right? So like a circumstance will land harder and it stays longer than a compliment. A hard day feels, you know, bigger than, or the hard days, they just feel sometimes like bigger than the good ones. Like we remember those hard days more than we remember, man, that was a great day. And that's not always true, but a lot of times it is, right? So like, so much of understanding this is to show you that this is not a weakness. This is your survival wiring doing exactly what it was designed to do. And so the average person, what happens with the average person? What's our tendency? What do we do? Starting from the default mind, where are we at, right? They stay with the default. So the default in the energy, should I say, in the attitude and the, you know, even mental attitudes of the average of the world is 180 degrees different from what we talk about with allergic to average, which is, you know, being somebody that carries love, embodies that, is that, you know, the core four, create, that you are a creator, you're a commander, that you have the ability to execute, and you have the ability to, you know, put action where it's needed. Like, so as we go on, but the average, what do? The average person just goes with the default. So what do we see in the default? What do we see as the average energy or perspective? Well, it's complaints. It's typically frustration. Nothing is going right. And it's not because, you know, they're bad people. These aren't, I mean, I've seen this time and time from workplaces that I've been a part of to my own family dynamic, school, the work field, you know, like across the board, everywhere. And the people that I've seen so often, or maybe even currently that I could probably think of that act this way, they're not bad people. I'm not saying that. But what this comes back to, and this is why I take this with joy and passion, because nobody's ever taught people in that degree, at least that what I'm talking about, to how to override the program, how to flip the script, right? And gratitude is the override. Gravity is the equalizer. Gravity is that, or gravity, gratitude, sorry, is the one thing that allows you to override that program of feeling like, well, there's nothing good, or life sucks, or, again, the complaints, the things you see all around you. So we have to get into like realizing that gratitude becomes a like deliberate, it's this deliberate daily choice to look at the other side of the coin and not just focus or just take the average approach of just looking at one side, looking at the negative side, looking at what's missing, looking at what's wrong and what's not gone right. Like that's one side, but we have another side. And that's the side of gratitude, okay? And this again, this changes your perspective and everything with it. And so the other side of the coin, going back to that, it's one of the most documented and researched backed life-changing practices available to any human being. This is what blows my mind. For free, right now, no equipment necessary. This is what gratitude brings us. This is the brilliance of gratitude that I'm talking about. And so, the main shift happens in your awareness. Most people, let me give it to you like this. Okay. Can I ask you something? When was the last time that you were like genuinely grateful for something that was just, maybe always there? It's been there a while, or you're used to it, but you were actually like, man, like, that I'm just so glad that I have a coffee maker, and it's always there for me I'm just so glad I have a working shower. Like it's something like, stop and think for a moment. I want to challenge you in this, but like you were legitimately, like genuinely, I'm grateful for something, and it's something that's always there for you, right? Not some big blessing, right? Not the promotion or the relationship that finally happened. I'm talking about like, again, waking up and being able to stand on both feet this morning. Like, man, I'm able to, I got my strength. I got another one. Yeah, I'm talking about the shower. I'm talking about the toothbrush, like these little things. The fact that you got to sleep, maybe you wasn't perfect sleep, but the fact that you woke up, you actually got to get it. You have another 24 hours, like these little things, and the fact that even it goes on and on. This is why I love doing this. But the fact that when you walked outside this morning, your car had 4 full tires. You didn't have one broke, flat, missing, stolen. I don't know. The fact that somebody didn't break into your house last night, and the fact that, you didn't find I'm making up stuff, but like somebody's leg got cut off and they left it at your doorstep this morning. You had no idea what happened, and you're in all this chaos and wonder and like what, but it didn't happen. So, I mean, even though we could think of some crazy scenarios, the fact that you're not having to deal with any of that, there's a reason to be grateful. That is the other side of the coin. Now, again, we do not think about like things until they're gone. Like you don't know what you got until it's gone. It's so true. A lot of songs in that statement that have been produced out of that. You never know what you got until it's gone. And that's what most people, the average, just waits for. We do not notice like the health until all of a sudden a diagnosis happens. How many years you've been able to just go for walks and do things and be active? Like we don't notice this friendship that we had or it was there until the distance happens. Somebody moves or you're not close or, relocation happens. We don't notice, the ordinary Tuesday until some kind of Tuesday arrives that, it just makes you wish you had another ordinary one. That's all I'll say, right? It's just you have those days where it's like nothing can go right, it feels like. So when you don't have one of those days, because those are part of the chaos and the craziness of what life can feel like sometimes. The point is, when you don't have to deal with those hard things that are going to be a part of life, you have another option. There's another side to the coin, and that's your perspective of seeing what's going well, what's going good. Okay, because the allergic to average mindset does not wait for the absence, to create gratitude. Like, you don't wait for things to just, okay, whenever this is gone, then I'll be grateful. Like, and like, you look at the perspective that Jesus gave us. Jesus, he gives this idea of showing us to give thanks over these loaves, the 5 loaves and the two fish. Before anything was multiplied, before the miracle happened that he demonstrated in multiplying this food and all this crazy stuff, right? That's his posture. Gratitude before the evidence. Gratitude before the evidence. Start with what is already in your hands. Okay, when we talked about, I think in week, 2, and we talked about look. And part of that strategy and framework in step 2 is notice what's in your hands. What do you already have? What's already going good? What do you already have available that is giving or wanting to expand more joy into your life, right? And so this goes back to gratitude. I want you to realize, okay, and I think there's more than one person watching this right now that needs to hear that, because there is so much good already happening around you right now, even today, every single day. And the question is not whether, is it there, or the question is, will you slow down long enough to actually see it, to receive it? And so I want to challenge you on, let's start there right now. So if you're watching, and again, even if this is a replay, even if you're watching this in a reel later, like drop some type of comment for, what is one small thing that you probably walk past in your life every day without naming it as a gift or seeing it? Like, what is one thing specific? Like, let's call it what it actually is. What is, if you could just throw it in the comments right now and share, what is one thing that is just ordinary, normal, it's always available typically, but if you were to really stop and express some gratitude, what would that one thing be? And it could be anything. It could just be your dog right now. It could just be maybe it's a pair of shoes you have. Maybe it's a watch you wear. I don't know, but it's always there. But just right now, to be able to demonstrate gratitude, to be able to celebrate and put your perspective on what you actually have, what's available, what's real, what's true, right? Like Scripture reminds us in Philippians 4:8, like this allows you to do that. So drop that in the comments, all right? And I'm going to continue here. So kind of summing it up, okay? As I kind of bring step 6, we cover gratitude in that. Let me go into like how, okay, here's where I want to kind of end on. Now, this is where gratitude gets real. Because everything that I've said is, it's easy to practice on good days, but this step is not designed for good days. That's the biggest challenge with gratitude. Gratitude is not for your happy, great days. It's actually, for the most part, it's the opposite. It makes great days better, but gratitude is really for those days that aren't going too well. Those ones that we would prefer not to have, right? So in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, it says, give thanks in all circumstances, okay? Give thanks in all circumstances, all caps, all. Okay, so not just the favorable ones, like the preferred ones, not when you feel like it. In all circumstances, give thanks. So all of them. So understand, like Sit with that. In all circumstances, whatever you whatever side of the coin you would put them on, good, bad. We a lot of times we attach these meanings, good, bad, okay. But regardless, all of those scenarios, give thanks. Practice gratitude, right? And so this is not like toxic positivity, like, this is not pretending the hard thing is not hard. It's not that you're gonna like recognize that, even in, well, no, it is that you would recognize more and more, right? That even inside of a difficult season, something is present. There's still a lesson, a strength that's being built, a perspective that is being forged that comfortable seasons could never create. Gratitude allows you to actually maybe bridge the gap between why you would go through one hell of a season and come out angry and bitter and as a victim versus how you could come out of a brutal, ugly season and come out more capable, more compassionate, more generous, more loving, more fulfilled. And so that's the power of your perspective and your relationship with gratitude. And so I give you some research. Okay. So like post-traumatic growth, research shows that people who come out of, genuinely like hard seasons are more resilient, they're more compassionate, and they're more clear about what actually matters. Okay. So they're not like only those who are like separated from difficulties. No, they're the ones who are able to find something grateful for within the ugly seasons of life. Like when things like shit's not going right, like they're still able to find something to be grateful for within it all. In all circumstances, right? Give thanks. So here's what another side of the coin. Like, I want to flip the script, right? That's what we do at Allergic to Average. We flip the script. So I have a question. What if the things that you're going through right now, or maybe you can even add the past in there, is not happening to you, but it's happening for you? It's not you're a victim and why do I have to deal with this? Why does this happen to me? What if life is not happening to you, but it's happening for you? Now, this was a perspective that a mentor of mine, probably about 8 years ago, introduced and continued to expand on. And I was like, wow. Because it speaks to the brilliance and the design and the uniqueness of your gift and how you were created uniquely, again, between all of your upbringing and experiences and trials and tribulations. I mean, you name it. It has designed a special and unique, incredible person that adds and brings value that can only achieve what you could achieve. And so what if life's not happening, to you? What if it's actually happening for you? What is it building that you couldn't have built any other way? And so I know, like, for me, a lot of the gratitude, like, it goes back because, again, I told you at the beginning, this is not some concept, some theory I'm teaching here. Like, this is actually something that has changed my life. And I want to kind of end on this note. Because there was, a season, of course, in my life where, shit got hard. It had really gotten hard. I mean, there's been several of those seasons, but I would say one of my most recent was back in 2024. And not to get into all the details, but I was in a pretty broken place, mentally, physically, financially, emotionally. Like, the list goes on and on. And it seemed like, as a husband, as a father, as a man, just like who I'm used to being, how I'm used to being able to show up, I couldn't. Circumstances, again, some horrible circumstances had happened. Unknowing how, why. I mean, it just wasn't, the details weren't there, but I had found myself in a season where, again, mentally, physically, emotionally, and even at certain degrees spiritually, everything felt horrible, like just not there, off. And so I bring that up because, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, and including, I mean, people, but gratitude is one of those things that helped me to just really like stay fighting in the game of life, staying connected, staying in a position to find a way to grow. And so much of being able to do that, even when you have nothing to give, when you feel so broken, is really where you put your perspective of what you already have, what's already good. Who do you have around you in your corner on your team? Who do you have available that you know, yeah, you don't talk to them every day, but they have nothing but love. And so, you know, in my worst, hardest seasons, gratitude kept me focused on the most important things, the things that, even though there were so many other distractions pertaining to chaos and trouble and obstacles, just ugliness in life, gratitude helped me to stay focused on the fact that I still have something good. There's still blessings happening right here, right now. And so this attitude of gratitude is not something that certain people were born with. It's not a personality type. It's not a spiritual gift that some are gifted with in church or at, you know, or certain religions. No, it's something that is developed, and it's a responsibility that we take on, that we continue to shape, and we design ourselves to look for and to see. And as you look for it, you're going to find it, right? And so, you know, I'll end on this is my final note, because wherever you're at, you know, there's two types of people, just like there's two sides of the coin. And wherever you're at watching this, I'm ending on this. Some of us, we were raised by, you know, somebody in parents, or at least an individual who modeled this, a parent, again, a grandparent, coach, pastor, teacher. And they showed us, like, through kind of the way that they lived and how they responded, you know, what it looks like to carry gratitude, you know, as a daily kind of like this posture, this attitude of again, gratitude. Like, what does that look like? Not just, you know, a response to good news, or, you know, if you know, that was you, that's something that, you know, you got to inherit. It's worth more than money, you know, to have that perspective that demonstrated to you. And now it comes, you know, with an obligation that you are going to pass that on, that you're going to continue to practice, but you're going to also pass on that attitude of gratitude. And so the other group would be, you know, the other side of the coin is, if you're somebody that, you know, nobody modeled that for you. Growing up, you know, you witness more of the complaints, majority of the time, bitterness, or the entitlement, you know, was what you saw. That is real. Like, I'm aware of it. I understand that. A lot of people don't, but I get it. But it's also not the end of the story, because the research is really ambiguous about this whole perspective. Gratitude can be built at any age. The brain can be rewired at any stage of life. And the pattern, you know, that you weren't shown can be built now, starting today. And so, you know, whether you receive it or not, it's your responsibility to build it, to develop it, to practice it, and then to become a person who, you know, passes it on. And so I want you to just realize that, hey, there is such a gift when it comes to gratitude. I mean, and I'll just add this final note. And, you know, it's one of the most effective, you know, protections against what we see so much with average tendencies and mindsets, which is pride and ego and entitlement. And what I wanted to remind you on my final note, and I've gotten to it, is you cannot be grateful, you know, for what you've been given, and simultaneously at the same time act like you've earned it all for yourself. Those two things do not coexist. You can't be cocky and grateful at the same time. If you're genuinely grateful and you practice that, it protects you from pride and ego, hijacking and distorting your thinking and convincing you that it's all you. You did this, right? It keeps you humble. It keeps you growing. And so as we tap into gratitude, as we continue to design our perspectives and seeing the other side, it's always available, the other side of the coin, it opens up everything. It changes your entire perspective. And what we perceive, we believe. And so this has been, again, step 6 in the continuation of the A16 Basics. Gratitude. How do we grow our attitude of gratitude? So I wanted to just leave you with that. Again, give me any feedback, any questions, anything that maybe just brought you some type of clarity. Maybe it was some type of gold that you attached onto. I love hearing that. And man, I appreciate, again, as always, your time and your energy, your attention. And man, let's just continue to stay allergic, continue to grow in gratitude. Until next time, it's me, Matt Lee. I'll see you in week, where are we at? Week 7, okay? We're going to week 7. So I'll see you guys next week. Happy Tuesday. Love you, appreciate you. Peace. I'm out.